walk off the job. They didn't notify nobody. They just walked off of the job, and look how much money we've already spent trying to get them burgers back. It's not worth it.
All righty, Mickey. Hey, thanks for the phone call this morning. And basically staying, so you want to stick around for that interview at 7:38. We're talking this morning, though, to a good friend of the program, Dave Bigo, who's had some experience with unions, sort of at the crux of this standoff over at the Indiana General Assembly. Dave, thank you very much for being with us.
It's a pleasure to be back again, Abdul.
When we look at some of these issues with unions and organizing and collectively bargaining, I want to make it clear for our audience, you have never come out against people's ability or right to collectively bargain.
Absolutely not.
If that's what they really want to do.
Absolutely not. I've talked to you before that in my prior life I managed union facilities across the country and always worked well with the rank and file. This really has nothing to do with the rank and file. This is more the big labor bosses that are trying to pad their own pockets and are in a fight for survival.
Let's go to Bill. He's got a comment. Hi, Bill. You're on 1430. Good morning.
Yeah, hi. I'm sure I can't be as eloquent as you guys are, or as polished, because I haven't rehearsed this. But isn't there a mechanism already in place for the workers to get rid of unions if you don't want to be union? I mean, can't workers decertify a union at a union shop? So why do people who don't have anything to do with union labor, people who are, I don't know, who aren't working at the facility that the workers decided that they wanted to be union at, why do people have a right to come in and decertify that union through a right-to-work law or to get rid of collective bargaining?
All right, Bill.
I don't think it's fair.
Well, let me throw this by Dave Bigo, because I know in your conversations with the SEIU, I think this was, part of that dynamic. Could you just as easily, if your workers want to have an election that could come in and certify, they could also have election to decertify? How exactly does that work?
Well, the people that are in a union shop can decertify. The problem is it's very tough for them to do it. It's very tough for the movement to get started because much like what you've seen in these rallies in Wisconsin and in Indianapolis, the union bosses and organizers will intimidate and put a lot of pressure on these people to keep their mouths shut. That's just their mode of operation. So trying to get a decertification campaign going is very, very tough for the people in these situations.
228-1430, 1-866-440-1430. Our guest this morning is Dave Bigo. Dave, head of EMS, also Maple Creek Golf and Country Club, where we do the occasional cocktails and conversation. And also he wrote the book, The Devil at My Doorstep, his back and forth with the SEIU, the Service Employees International Union. He wrote a book about it, The Devil at My Doorstep. And so with all this stuff going on at the State House in Madison, Wisconsin, other places, we thought it would be a good time to come in and talk and visit with Dave. Right to work. Originally, it was stated that right to work is the reason the Indiana House Democrats walked out and went back to my home state of Illinois. That's why a lot of the union people came out and said, right to work, it hurts wages. Somebody mailed me a flyer over the weekend that was passed out in their home in Shelbyville saying that right to work lowers wages, which in turn raises taxes because people have got less money rolling around. Although right to work, the governor and the Speaker of the House have both said is taken off the table, you are a right to work supporter.
Yeah, that's right, I am. I believe that everybody should have freedom of choice and a decision. When the SEIU came to Indianapolis and tried to, and again, they really didn't try to organize their people. They tried to force unionize by having me sign the neutrality agreement. But they were approaching our people as they were coming out of the buildings that we cleaned and that. And I have to tell you that they weren't successful in getting these people's interest, despite the fact that they would intimidate them on the streets and try to force them to sign union cards and that. These people were sharp, and they understood that all they were going to end up doing was paying more union dues, and it wasn't going to help them out. And that's why I've taken up this fight, because I believe people should have the choice if they want to become part of a union or not. It's that simple.
Now, one of the things, Dave, that the union people will say, and I always want to get your response to this, is that if you don't have people, it gets sort of the option to opt out, what you'll get is you get the people who are part of the union who are out, fighting management and doing the negotiation. Then the folks who aren't part of the union, they just basically free ride. They have to they get to piggyback on all the union's hard work, and that's why those people should be forced to contribute union dues, because they're also getting the benefit.
Well, I think that's a disingenuous argument. The truth is, if the unions have something to sell, if they have a product, and we are a free market society, that the people want, the people will buy into it and support the union's objectives. Back years ago, the unions were a good cause. They were needed because there were a lot of businesses taking advantage of people. The other thing is they had a lot of other good things in their sales kit. They did training. They work with people to help them elevate their skills and that. And most of the unions today don't do that. Now, they say they will, and they even have it in their contracts, like the SEIU contracts. They have a provision in there that says, we'll establish a training program. Do they? No. Where they take that money, instead of putting into training programs for the employees and the people, they put it into politics. And they put it into politics because the unions are financially strapped. They need to elect people that will in turn pass laws or protect laws so that the unions don't go out of business.
Now, when you and I first met, part of the reason we met was you having some issues with the SEIU a couple of years ago. How's all that? Is that sort of pretty much settled and they've left you alone and gone about their business?
Yeah, we don't come across them too much anymore. I know that they are organizing again here in the state. I know they've gone after security guards. I've recently heard they're going after nursing homes. Out in California, they're putting on big campaigns against healthcare centers and that. And the reason the unions are doing that, going back to the corporate campaigns, because they didn't get card check passed. But for our purposes, we won 3 major unfair labor practices against them through the National Labor Relations Board, and they've pretty much left us alone. So
when you turn on the TV and pick up the newspaper and you see what's going on down at the Indiana General Assembly, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Apart from, wow, better them than me.
Well, it's the typical tactics. I look at those crowds, and, a lot of those are just like some of ours. In fact, I swore I saw some of the same people down there, but they used to go down to the Wheeler Mission here in Indianapolis and hire people for cash a day to carry posters and that, and then they bring other people in, they bus them, or they give them literature that's disingenuous and full of half-truths that kind of indoctrinate them and get them down there to rally. A lot of this is, again, for show and intimidation to put pressure on instead of being big boys and debating the issues.
228-1430, 1-866-440-1430. Dave Beagle, our guest, with us for a few more minutes. As we talk about what's been going on down at the State House with respect to unions, let's go to Steve. Hi, Steve. You're on 1430 with Dave Beagle. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How you doing there?
Doing well.
I'm kind of a little bit confused. At one breath, they're talking about doing away with the teachers' union, giving the public a choice. And then they turn around and talk about get rid of the unions where you don't have a voice or a choice. I mean, so it seems like to me there's 2 different messages coming out of this Senate group.
Well, I think what you've got, Steve, is you have a couple of different things, and you have to distinguish between a private sector union and a public sector union. And I think what's going on with respectfully with the issue of teachers and teachers unions has just been that limiting collective bargaining to just merely wages and benefits, and maybe taking some of these other things off of the table and giving school districts more flexibility to deal with financial crises, because let's be honest, there's less money rolling around. With respect to right to work, which is off the table, all that's saying is that no one can be compelled to join a union. Now, if people want to get together and collectively bargain, I don't think you'll find anybody who has at least said publicly that nobody should have that right to get together. If we think, the 10 of us can get a better deal than the one of us, then that's fine. But if there's somebody who doesn't want to be part, of the union, they shouldn't be forced to join.
Well, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. I represent both the private sector and the public sector.
Yeah.
And just like they had an economic crisis for 2011 and 12, we sit down with the city, negotiate a contract for a couple of years, no raises because of the economic situation. So it's not automatic because you're a union that you get what you want. So it don't really operate that way. And I've been down there last week, and I didn't see a whole bunch of folks down there with signs saying, "Hey, they're forcing me to be part of the union, and I want out." Most of the folks that you see down there, they support the union. They're taking their own time and to go down there to be able to exercise their right on the job and have a voice. And I'm going to just say this last thing, too, Abdul, that I believe that when it comes to blacks and women, I believe